Forward. Get ready to dive into the captivating journey that explores the depths of bipolar disorder and living with ADHD. This book is about sharing stories, fostering understanding, and supporting those facing these challenges. In today's world, mental health awareness is on the rise. However, there's still a pressing need for accurate information and empathy regarding bipolar disorder and ADHD. This book aims to fill that gap, illuminating the intricacies of these conditions and breaking down the stigma that often surrounds them. You're going to meet some individuals through personal stories and expert insights. They'll share their experiences, victories, and struggles as they navigate life with bipolar disorder and ADHD. Their stories offer a peek into the realities faced by those who often feel unheard or misunderstood. Education and support are at the core of this book. As you flip through its pages, you'll discover a treasure trove of knowledge about symptoms, treatment options, coping strategies, and techniques for managing bipolar disorder and ADHD. Consider it your trusty guide, empowering you and your loved ones to make informed decisions about well-being. Now more than ever, the world craves stories that enlighten, inspire, and unite people. This book steps up to the plate, giving voice to those who often go unnoticed. Its timely arrival satisfies the growing demand for accessible and relatable information about mental health, ensuring that the conversation continues to evolve and thrive. As you embark on this journey, expect to gain fresh insights, empathy, and a renewed sense of hope. May the words within these pages raise awareness, ignite compassion, and bring solace to those who've walked this path or seek a better understanding. Together, let's build a society that embraces and supports the remarkable resilience of those with bipolar disorder and ADHD. Introduction. I should start this book with an introductory story of somebody who has gone through bipolar burnout and is on the road to recovery to the point that they now live a healthy and balanced life, having learned to manage the various challenges of being bipolar and ADHD. I'm writing this introduction in a manic phase to which you may be accustomed. I have fantastic surges of energy which last about 2 weeks, and I am at my most productive in my work, business, and writing. This working in a manic phase and working with ADHD is enabled by the advent over the last couple of years of speech-to-text dictation and, more recently, the use of artificial intelligence in checking his grammar and punctuation to present you with something relatively clear and engaging, hopefully. For example, I'm able to write this introduction while walking up and down inside my study, just having a slightly better microphone than you would find on your laptop so that, more often than not, the interpretation by the software is accurate. So it does make for something of a free flow and word association game, but it does also help me to be productive and creative at the end of a long working day in my chair. If you are somewhere on the ADHD spectrum, you will know that putting in a full day as a senior project manager or program manager is particularly exhausting because of the self-discipline and focus we have to apply to be as productive as our colleagues. Thank goodness for remote working and the technology which enables us to still be in contact and in touch but able to zone out all of the distractions which would be in a normal office environment. My company requires us to work from home because a few thousand of us would have a significant carbon footprint in our commuting and occupying offices which would be used only during the day but have all of the auxiliary equipment running 24 hours. As a result, I miss human contact sometimes. Still, when he went to the office, he had to give up on the illusion or delusion that he may be productive sitting in an open-plan environment. Following this particular rabbit down a hole, I'm sure you will agree that the people who designed open-plan offices and activity-based workstations did not suffer from hypersensitivity to people or noise or movement. The ponytails designed an office environment which suited their creative flair as interior designers rather than designing them for people who had to be at maximum productivity. At least back in the early 80s, when people were being taken out of offices and into cubicles, we were surrounded by 6-foot-high panels. Then we went to have a 2-foot panel to the right and the left of us and in front, and then somebody decided to remove those on the left and the right. Now they have decided to remove the one between you and the person opposite. Are they mad? Now, back to me pacing the room, dictating his hopefully inspirational story in this introduction. My adult backstory. My backstory as an adult starts in 1981 when I left school after a somewhat tumultuous and disruptive childhood, moving from school to school and country to country over 16 years. When I left school, my parents insisted I find a job because my friends had good enough marks to attend university. I would have to work my way in the world with my atrocious school-leaving results. My friends had found holiday jobs in a fancy men's clothing department store. But, because I was looking to start a career, I needed to find something a little better than that. So I knocked on the door of a boutique hotel in Cape Town called the Vineyard Hotel. Somehow I met the manager, who gave me a job with the grand title of trainee hotel manager. I was thoroughly enjoying myself and the interaction with so many people. Still, my father seemed to not share my optimism for a career in hospitality. Instead, he found that I could be enrolled in the Merchant Navy and get a tertiary education as part of an apprenticeship. And so I found myself walking up the gangway of a large container ship on the 20th of January 1981 to spend 6 months finding out if I was suited to life at sea and, more particularly, life in the ship's engine room. The answer is mixed, but I stayed with them long enough to complete my apprenticeship but failed to complete my college studies for reasons that may become obvious as we continue. Many experiences, and some 5 years later, I left the Merchant Navy. And trained as a software developer, I was a good software developer, because there had to be structure following certain logic and process coding rules for running code and getting predictable results. I joined IBM on the 1st of April 1999. Don't get me wrong, because I formed some of the most enduring professional relationships in the fire of IBM. It is an exceptionally demanding company that gets every pound of flesh out of its employees. Still, sometimes that is the price you pay to be part of a company driven to excellence. It is a very tired saying, but we worked hard and played hard, and in some sense, we enjoyed a bond and relationships that saw us through much hardship and success. My son was born in April 2000, a year after joining IBM. This was the 7th anniversary of my marriage to my wife and the most significant event of my 37 years on the planet. It is an understatement to say that it was a real shock to the system. However, having no idea how much work it would be to raise a child, I did not step down from my work or community commitments. In fact, believing I would have time on my hands while at home, I registered for an undergraduate degree that I would do by distance education. So naive was I. I thought I could do the degree in the 4 or 5 years that you could at peak performance, but ultimately, it took him 10 full years. My wife and I were extremely involved in their community and church, holding different responsibilities. Still, they had a common vision and made sacrifices in the 7 years of marriage. His wife reduced her working hours when their son was born, but I did not. Instead, I remained an elder in their church and the chairman of a school outreach in an informal settlement. I also took on some small group leadership responsibilities and the odd preaching opportunity. Until this point in my life, I drove to the office early and started work by 7 o'clock to be ahead of the rest of the day's commitments. As a result, I would inevitably be working late at the office or at home and definitely putting in time at my computer on the weekend. The earliest signs of burnout started to show around the end of 2000 or the beginning of 2001. However, I did not know enough to recognize them. Although unable to get out of bed and spent many hours sleeping on the sofa during the day and the evenings, I would always wake up with my mind racing and needed to sit on the edge of the bed with a journal and just free-flow my thoughts. Conflict arises in the home regularly, with my wife and I having very different ideas and ways of handling conflict. Of course, there had been conflict and raised voices in the 7 years of marriage. Still, my outbursts were more aggressive as I was clearly starting to burn out, and depression was taking hold. A couple of months into this, I went to my doctor. I described my mental condition, for which he prescribed a mood-stabilizing medication. The first medicine we used had a negative impact on me physiologically. Then we changed to one that was more effective to the point of feeling more robust than I really was. Therefore, although I had been underperforming at work and in my community obligations, I continued to honor all those in my state of enhanced mood. During this time, I overachieved in my work at IBM, and in 2003 my daughter was brought into this world. Soon after she was born, we realized that I did not have the energy to continue with all of my obligations, but we did not step down promptly. A year after she was born, I suffered from a complete breakdown, or, as my psychologist kindly called it, an ego implosion. We had to rapidly step out of church leadership commitments and find a psychiatrist who could find the right medicine regime for my bipolar state. We had not recognized bipolar because I was in permanent mania or high-performance pressure, masking the depressive episodes. The facade imploded when I got so tired of trying to be everything to everyone. The psychiatrist explained that one of the problems was that a suitably qualified medical professional should diagnose and prescribe mood-enhancing medications. Unfortunately, my well-meaning general practitioner inadvertently had me move from an emotional basement up to the ground floor where I was before and up to the first floor, which was the level of mood I was familiar with when in a constant manic state. This is where I felt so resilient and positive and overextended myself completely. Hence the crash and burn. Rising from the ashes. You might be familiar with the story of the ancient Egyptians regarding the phoenix rising from the ashes. The phoenix is a mythical bird that has the power to regenerate itself from its own ashes. It symbolizes renewal, resilience, and transformation in many cultures and folklore. The story of the phoenix varies in different traditions, but the main idea is the same. In the most common version of the story, the phoenix is a beautiful and immortal bird with colorful feathers and a long lifespan. But when the phoenix gets old, it becomes weak and tired. It knows it is time to die, so it builds a nest of fragrant wood and spices and sets it on fire. The phoenix burns with the nest, turning into ashes. But from those ashes, a new phoenix rises, young and strong. The new phoenix inherits the memories and wisdom of the old one but is also full of energy and vitality. It flies in the sky, showing its bright feathers and representing a new start after the fiery ordeal of death and rebirth. The story of the phoenix rising from the ashes is often used as a metaphor for overcoming difficulties, facing challenges, and embracing change. It shows the possibility of growth and resilience in the face of destruction or failure. The phoenix's ability to rise from its ashes inspires people and communities to find courage, hope, and renewal even in the darkest times. The myth of the phoenix has been told for centuries. It has been adapted by various cultures, such as ancient Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and Chinese mythology. Each culture has unique versions and meanings of the myth. Still, the core theme of transformation and rebirth remains a universal message. This book is the story of the phoenix in me and the phoenix in you. That high-flying bird which came crashing to earth and was consumed by the fire but is regenerated to fly again. The question for us is whether we go through the phoenix's repeated incarnations or find a way to remain in flight. A way to live a normal, balanced life which is rewarding in the quality of our relationships and our appreciation of beauty and excellence. This does not come easy. The book aims to provide guidance, strategies, and inspiration for individuals with bipolar disorder and adult ADHD, helping them navigate challenges and embrace a positive outlook. Section 3: Adult ADHD. Adult Attention Deficit/Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by persistent inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity patterns. While often associated with childhood, ADHD can persist into adulthood and significantly impact daily life. A key difference is that adults can be more conscious and active in managing their ADHD, recognizing when they are tired or vulnerable to distraction for some other reason. On the other hand, a diagnosed but undermanaged child with ADHD can be destructive to themselves and those in the environment around them. The best example of the impact of an unmanaged child's ADHD would be the distraction in the classroom or the inability to concentrate or learn adequately. A diagnosed adult with ADHD will be less disruptive, however, even if it is because they are more conscious and therefore managing their responses to stimuli in the workplace. For example, they can moderate their reactions to a frustrating situation or conflict in the office or meetings. When I reflect on some of my behaviors as an undiagnosed, unmanaged ADHD, I am more than embarrassed and sometimes filled with the deepest regret for how I treated some people. The child can do similar things, with a level of forgiveness associated with their age and then neurodiversity. An adult will be more harshly judged in the court of public opinion. Symptoms of adult ADHD include difficulty paying attention, impulsiveness and restlessness, difficulty with self-control, carelessness and lack of attention to detail, continually starting new tasks before finishing old ones, poor organizational skills, inability to focus or prioritize, continually losing or misplacing things, forgetfulness, restlessness and edginess. Superscript 1, superscript 2, superscript 3. Here are some of the more common characteristics, challenges, and impacts of adult ADHD. ADHD characteristics. Inattention. Adults with ADHD may struggle with sustaining attention and staying focused on tasks. They may have difficulty organizing and prioritizing activities, frequently get distracted, and struggle with maintaining attention to detail. Hyperactivity. Hyperactivity in adults with ADHD may manifest as feelings of restlessness, a need to be in motion constantly, or difficulty sitting still for extended periods. It can also involve excessive talking or interrupting others. Impulsivity. Adults with ADHD may struggle with impulsivity, acting without considering the consequences. They may have difficulty inhibiting immediate responses, interrupt conversations, make impulsive decisions, or engage in risky behaviors. Challenges. Executive functioning. Executive function refers to a set of cognitive processes that help plan, organize, and complete tasks. Adults with ADHD often face challenges in executive functioning, leading to difficulties with time management, organization, prioritization, and task initiation. Emotional regulation. Many adults with ADHD experience difficulties with emotional regulation. They may have intense emotional reactions and mood swings and struggle with frustration tolerance. This can impact relationships, stress management, and overall well-being. Working memory. Working memory involves the ability to hold and manipulate information in mind. Adults with ADHD may have challenges with working memory, which can impact learning, following instructions, and multitasking. Impaired impulse control. Impulsivity can lead to difficulties with self-control, causing impulsive spending, risk-taking behaviors, and challenges with self-regulation in various situations. Impact on daily life. Work and education. Adults with ADHD may struggle with job performance, meeting deadlines, maintaining focus during meetings or lectures, and staying organized. Due to these challenges, they may have difficulty sustaining long-term employment or pursuing higher education. Relationships. ADHD can strain relationships due to difficulties with attention, listening, impulsivity, and emotional dysregulation. Communication issues and forgetfulness can lead to misunderstandings and frustrations. Time management and organization. Adults with ADHD often find it challenging to manage their time effectively and stay organized. This can result in missed appointments, late payments, cluttered spaces, and a constant sense of being overwhelmed. Mental health. ADHD is associated with an increased risk of other mental health conditions, such as anxiety, depression, and substance abuse. These comorbidities can further impact daily life and overall well-being. Self-esteem and self-confidence. Frequent struggles and setbacks can negatively impact self-esteem and self-confidence for adults with ADHD. They may question their abilities and feel frustrated with their difficulties, decreasing their sense of self-worth. It's important to note that while ADHD poses challenges, it also brings unique strengths such as creativity, hyperfocus on tasks of interest, and the ability to think outside the box. With appropriate support, including therapy, medication, and implementing coping strategies, individuals with adult ADHD can learn to manage their symptoms effectively and lead fulfilling lives.